All right. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting to order at 6:02 p.m. Thank you for coming. Please take note of all of the emergency exits in case we need to use them. And now I'd like everyone to please stand and join me for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mrs. Ramsey, can we have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Giller?
I'm here.
Mr. Jackson?
Here.
Mrs. Snyder? Mrs. Gendron?
Excused?
Thank you. Paradis?
I'm here.
Mr. Gerose?
Here.
Mrs. Carey?
Here, thank you. At this time, I'd like to turn the floor over to Superintendent O'Shea.
Thank you. Well, we are very happy to have our elementary building leadership teams here with us this evening to present their plans. And first off, Van Skyke Grade School, Principal DeCero.
Oh, good evening. We're very happy to be here. I'm going to introduce my team from Van Skyke Grade School. So first is Katrina Keith, third grade teacher. Bonnie Belko, reading. Pam Krufsky, she's a full-time aide and represents CNCA. Carrie Bennett, kindergarten. Amanda Dorr, fifth grade, and then Amber Della Rocco, second grade. I corrected it. So the first thing I'm going to go over just quickly is just from last year's presentation, the three of us, the principals, and Ms. O'Shea heard that it would probably be a very good idea if we could put some things on one slide that we all do the same, instead of you hearing the same thing at 3 different times, that we're all doing the same stuff. So, oh yeah, I can't do it too. So what we have in common, the three of us, and there's probably more than this, but is to analyze and use our iReady data. And you'll see that in all of our plans, and you'll see our results from last year in it. And we're really, drilling down into what our results are, looking at it to help identify areas of weakness, help with our AIS programs, and really looking at what our students need instructionally. Phonics, the Foundations program is now in kindergarten through second grade in all three of our buildings. Again, this is, I think, really came from looking at the science of reading that a lot of us in all three buildings did the micro-credentialing and the need for looking at phonics skills. And we really felt this was a program that we had used in the past, and we really felt it was going to help strengthen the phonics skills area for our students. Strengthening into reading, we have been doing into reading as our core reading program for I think that we've had it already for 5 years and we've just renewed. And we have the three of us and our teachers and working with Julie Carroll, the BOE coach, are really looking at instructionally what is happening in our classrooms with our teachers, making sure that there's consistency across all three buildings with instruction as it pertains to what's happening into reading, and then looking at the skills, the vocabulary, strategies that spiral throughout from kindergarten right up to fifth grade. Something new also is implementing writables. This is part of the Into Reading program. It is an online, on the computer writing, I don't want to say assessment, but activities that go along with the stories that are in the Into Reading program. And then the students are writing reading responses. Some of the stories are right from the reading that they're doing with the classroom teachers, but then the teachers can also assign assignments as well. And why we like the idea of trying this year is because, as you know, New York State testing for 3, 4, 5, we're doing computer-based testing. This is on the computer. It gets the students practicing more, typing and doing reading responses the way they're going to see them on that test. And then Ready Math, again, that is something that all three buildings are doing. We really used Julie, our coach, last year, really looking and drilling down into the math, again, looking for consistency amongst the three buildings with instruction. The classroom teachers have met a couple of times already. Kindergarten and first grade, I think I've already met now twice, and really having good conversations about seeing where are we, what module are you on? What's happening at Van Skyke, what's happening at Lansing's? Because we know that there's kids that move from building to building. We want to make sure we're kind of close so that if someone moves from one building to the next, they're not going to have that big of a gap and missing in units of instruction. And then DESA, we did this last year, fifth grade as a pilot program. This is the social emotional screening. And then based on the results of that, we are doing small group social emotional skills groups with our social workers and school psychologists This year, we're expanding it to 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. And then finally, across the district, a great resource that just the 2 months we've had it is the building blocks. And that is really a great resource that we've seen for our families and helping them to get the resources that they need as well. So that's what we have in common. You can probably see a few more. But next, our first goal for, we believe in high expectations for all. Our goal is that we will see an increase in our iReady students making a year's worth of growth. We'd like to see 5% in reading because this past year we had 77.7% of our students meet their year's worth of growth. So we want 5% more this year. And in math, we're at 90.8% of our students met their year's worth of growth. So we kind of scaled that down to 2% increase, if you would like to say. And I think a couple of my teachers are going to expand.
So using our iReady data, we created a building-wide WOW board. It's down by the cafeteria. It's just like a hundreds chart. And on a monthly basis, we check their time on the program. And for September, October, it was time on. Going forward, we're going to be looking at time on and percentage past lessons. And then they get to put their name on that board. And then once the board is filled, we're going to choose names to reward them. Then the academic pyramid, we are revising that and modifying it. Yep, pyramid. Oh, Carrie has a copy of it. So this is our old pyramid.
2010.
For 20. So for our faculty meeting coming in December, Jacqueline sent it out for classroom teachers to look at tier 1, because that's where that should be happening. And then we'll come together, change, modify, add, delete, whatever we need to there. And then we will have a meeting AIS, reading and special education to then work on tier 2 and tier 3.
So we are also in the process of applying a portrait of a Van Skyke student. So that basically means we're using those core competencies of a graduate student and kind of customizing it to our building. So for example, one of those core competencies is being a global citizen. So we're in the process of making a list of all the experiences and opportunities we currently have at Van Skyke to make sure our students are leaving our building from 5th into 6th as global citizen, and they have all the tools they need to move forward.
Next one.
I use Katrina setting goals.
Something we've done in the past that we've continued is to make our students accountable for their actions, is we ask them each to set a goal. And when we started it like 5 years ago, 4 years ago, it was something, whatever they wanted. It was to be able to use the monkey bars at recess. It was, to be able to do anything. And then from that, we kind of expanded to what can you now accomplish in our classroom? So at the beginning of the year, during our PBI kickoff, we really kind of talked about the different things that we're going to be doing this trimester in reading and in writing and math. So what's a goal that you can accomplish right in this classroom? And I teach 3rd grade. So one of my big things is everybody wants to learn math for their multiplication facts, right, in September. So it's nice because now they're starting to be like, oh, you said I was going to learn my 10s and I have those already. So they bring their goal down to the office. Mrs. DeChiro announces, so-and-so met their goal, come and put your tiger paw on the wall. So they write their names down. And again, it's just a nice accountability for them to be able to see that they've reached their goals. And now it's time to set a new one. And on top of that, to hear your name over the announcements, to get that acknowledgement from your teachers and your peers.
Second goal, we believe in a positive school climate and culture. We want to provide students and staff with strategies and resources to support the social emotional well-being.
So one of the things that we had kind of tried to do last year was our welcome committee, which basically was the classroom teacher picking a student to welcome new students into that class. We didn't have a huge influx of new students last year. We did at the beginning of this year. So we did, because the kids were exposed to that last year, we felt it was easier for new kids in September to transition. Like me personally, I had 2 new students starting in September. So I had a student right away who I knew was going to be my welcome committee person and they knew what their job was, showing that student around, integrating them into like all little cliques and things like that around the school. So I think that's something that we're really kind of getting into this year because the new students do not stop.
Got a little badge, wearing a little badge that says welcome committee on it. So I feel like we're in.
A second area that we're looking at this year for positive school climate and culture is going along with the DESA, which Jacqueline already mentioned. And from the results of the DESA, we are forming solution focus groups to monitor and provide early intervention to students with those social emotional needs. And since now we're taking the pilot that happened last year with 5th grade and pushing it down to 4th and 3rd, we're hoping that we'll see those effects for years to come. Last year was, a bit of a learning process, trying to figure out, not only how to complete the survey because it was quite lengthy last year compared to this year. So that's a bonus, but also how to best utilize the data that comes from it. And so I think that we'll be better informed this year on how to use the data, especially under Rachel's guidance, to form those groups so that we can see improvement in those areas. I don't know the areas off the top of my head, but they classify the kids in certain areas of need. So you might have a 3rd grader and a 5th grader in the same group because they're working on a skill, for example. So it doesn't have to just be 5th graders with 5th graders or 4th with 4th, that sort of thing based on skill. Another thing that I'm working on with my 5th graders is something called the Compassion Project. And I did pilot this last year, and then we decided that we're going to go with it and continue it again this year. The Compassion Project is basically a fully funded free program through the EverFi Corporation. They partner with local businesses. One in particular, they work with Rangers Hockey, and they have a couple other programs for the kids that have to do with math and science and hockey. But this particular program is about having compassion and building the capacity for having compassion and empathy for others. And so in this program, it's a self-paced, online, 3 modules. The modules are compassion and empathy with stakes in self-care and emotions and mindfulness. And so it brings the student through a series of scenarios. It brings them through a series of experiences that they might hit upon in their life as a 5th grade student. And then at the end, it gives them a little quiz. They're usually like 5 or 6 questions. And our goal this year was to have all of the students get at least an 80% on each of those quizzes to show that they were competent in each one of the modules. And so far, we finished the first module and everyone got an 80 or 100. And they were very proud to come and show, Adams, who's my consultant teacher, and myself, when they got there, because they get a green light when they get the 80 or the 100. When you pass, you get like a green light. And so they're very happy to show us. So we're going to continue with the Compassion Project this year, and all the 5th graders will have achieved competency, because that's our goal. We're not going to let them stop until they pass it. Competency in those 3 modules.
And then the last on there is year-long secret staff, which we did start last year. We did modify it a little bit this year. Last year, we had the same staff member for every month. It's a gift every month person. So this year, we changed it and picking a new person. Just a little $6, $8 gift, just that they come into.
And then our final area is we believe in future-ready knowledge and skills, and our goal is to decrease chronic absenteeism. This past year, we were at 25.6%, so we want to go down by 2% to 23.6% to ensure our students are immersed in learning. And I would like to just note that the year before that, 22-23, to last year, to the 25.6, we were at 30%. So I asked Ms. O'Shea if we could bank 3% from this past year.
I know. So attendance has really just become embedded throughout our school day, whether it's the students talking, whether it's the kids talking. A lot of us have daily rewards. If our whole class has perfect attendance in my classroom, the first thing we do that morning is everybody moves their name up because everybody did their job together. And it's funny because if one person's absent and they might walk in 20 minutes late, my entire instruction stops. Attendance, and we have to go move everybody's name up. And it's just something small that the kids know they're accountable for. And I can speak to last year on one day that there was something that was like, I don't ever come to school on half days. Not gonna get to move our names up tomorrow, you know, if you're not here. And then one of the students showed up the next day and they're like, I thought you weren't coming. He's like, well, I told my mom I had to be here today and she got me here. So I think it's just little things, just by bringing up the importance of being here. And it's something that's embedded into our daily announcements. Each month, students that have the attendance rate that we're asking for, the 95% or above, Mrs. Shakira takes 5 minutes to come into every classroom and says, all right, we're gonna pause instruction. The following students come up to the front of the room and hands them out a certificate and takes a picture with them. So again, it's just that feeling of, all right, I did this, I can do this. Like all I have to do is show up to school to receive this. And in addition to that, Parent Square has been a great resource for just sending those reminders. Mrs. Dorr found something that we all shared with our parents at open house that pretty much said just by missing 2 days of school, your entire school career will lead to 1 full year that you will have missed from school by the time you go from kindergarten to 12th grade. And, you know, two days a month doesn't sound like much, but when you put it into that big perspective and, you know, put it right in front of your face, it's like, oh boy, if I can get my child here, that's important. So it really just has become a natural conversation amongst everybody. And so I think it's one of those things that just being embedded in the daily aspects of our building is helping the students come. And I will say at our PBIS kickoff, the mayor did come and oh yeah, Mrs. O'Shea was there as well, because you invited yourself to the pizza party. Mayor was like, throw and laugh.
Bringing ice cream.
That received 95% of attendance in the store's 5th grade, and he met them at the pool and provided pizza for them during lunch. And he offered to do it for as many classes as met that goal. So we're really kind of pushing that as well. That's it.
That's a lot. Questions, comments?
I like the individualized approach. I feel like you are making kids have ownership, not making, but encouraging kids to have ownership in their education and their academics, but then also encouraging them to develop themselves emotionally and socially. And it feels like everything that you guys are working towards or guiding to is to support each one of those kids where they are. And that's hard to do. So I applaud you guys for thinking about, you know, how you can have a larger effect for not just your classes, but as you're moving kids forward into secondary or, you know, the real world, as you said, getting ready. Thank you.
I actually wanted to say that when I knew that you guys were going to be presenting, I was wondering how the new welcome committee, because you guys had started it last year and stuff like that. So I actually thought of it. I'm like, oh, I wonder how that is going, like for the kids, because that's a big deal. You know, getting in.
Simple thing.
It's a simple thing of having somebody that, you know, can just show them around the building, you know, sit with them for lunch and different things like that. So I'm glad that you are continuing it on and that the kids are actually involved in it too.
Even as a kindergartner, I had a new one started September 29th. So I had one of my little girls, she sat with her and I mean, they loved it. She's like, we do this, and you need to get this book, this is where we go to lunch. And she was showing around and she was so.
Yeah, you don't realize how big of a deal it is for a new kid, you know, to go into the school.
They don't know anybody there, so.
Right, so
Little kids enjoy it.
good.
I really appreciate the fact that you're introducing the new core competencies and just the language, because these are the kids who are going to be impacted by the changes that are coming in 27 and beyond. So thank you for doing that.
Can I just ask one question on the common goals that you guys are setting? I know that you talked about consistency of instruction and obviously curriculum. Does that include materials or are all of the buildings using the same support materials? Because I know a lot of those programs come with, whether it's a workbook or an online module or whatever, everybody has the same expectation. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your leadership. And now we're making the transition to the Harmony Health Building Leadership Team. And when everyone settles in, we'll have Principal Perry introduce his team.
I mean, I can move over if you get.
Thanks for turning the heat on tonight. Holy. So thank you for inviting us. We're very excited to give you our plan. We have Stacy Bowles, as you know, does everything like the national photographer. If you invite her to an event, you'll get 600 or 700 pictures out of her for sure. She's also a CSEA rep. Christy Churros we figured, she's been with us at a couple meetings. We're putting her right to work. I don't know if anybody knows her or not. Christine Guarneri, a reading teacher, and Sarah Atkins, fourth grade teacher, Crystal Roberts, fourth grade teacher, Jenna Howe, second grade teacher, and Mary Beth Siebel, second grade teacher, and also CTA rep. So Jacqueline, I was glad Jacqueline started off with the, it always not there.
It's the clicker, it's right there.
Sorry, can you? So, hold on. So Jacqueline started us out with the ones that we are all doing, right? Because we talked last time about how we're repeating ourselves. So those are the things that we're all doing. The first one we're going to talk about are high expectations for all. Obviously, we want high expectations for all. Our building goal is to increase the percentage of students that meet their yearly growth goal by 5%. I personally wanted to see a much larger number than 5%, but Peggy said we got to keep it real, got to keep it honest. So our reading, we're going to try to move from.
We could still have a stretch goal, remember? We have the stretch goal.
Well, we want them to all stretch. We got to stretch them big. We're a little disappointed in the outcome last year. So we're working really, really hard to increase the numbers. We got to be a little bit more strategic. We're going to talk about that a little bit more. We're going to increase our rating from 61 to 66%, on our math from 58 to 63% at least. I'm expecting much bigger numbers than those, and the team's going to talk about it.
Right, so the first thing we're planning on doing is having teacher-led help sessions, because for the ELL classroom teachers, we have 65 plus ELL students in our building. That number keeps increasing. So we have a few teachers who have gone to some professional development, and they have brought what they learned there back along with their own knowledge, because we have teachers who have been teaching ELL students for several years, develop their own strategies that work really well for them. And they are creating these sessions to help teachers who have been kind of thrown in without any experience yet, to give them some strategies to help the students be successful, to help with the daily procedures, with translating, when to translate, when not to translate, what can be most useful. Homework is going to be very different for a kid who doesn't know any English versus a kid who's on grade level. And anything else that the teachers may have a question about. Just everything, any questions pop up randomly, oh my gosh, how do I do this with a student who doesn't speak English?
And one more thing with the LL, we've got enough students now where we've designated 2 sections. All of our sections are either 3 or 4 deep. 2 sections in each grade, in kindergarten through 5th grade. One is a high needs ELL, one's a lower needs ELL. So it's a lot. And the higher needs ELL was a teacher that was already an ELL teacher, and the other teacher is new to it. But this teacher-led group is gonna be able to teach everybody consistent standards, consistent ways to teach ELLs. So it's been successful so far.
So in order to help our students be more successful academically, we identified priority standards based on the New York State assessments. So we analyzed the data from the 3rd to 5th grade New York State test results using the Tableau program, and we created a heat map to identify exactly what standards our students were consistently struggling with across grade levels. And we took that information and we shared it building-wide, K through 5. We think it's really important that all of our teachers know, even if their students aren't being taking part in New York State testing, that they're still aware of that, because the prerequisites that they're teaching impact how successful the students are as they are then involved in the testing. So we brought it all the way down to kindergarten. We have meetings, and our PLCs are focusing on those specific skills that students are struggling with. And that allows us to teach those prerequisites at a lower grade level and reinforce them as they get older. And we're hoping that that helps us to really see those students make gains in those areas across our whole building.
And then the next area that we are addressing is the AIS program. We always talk about the hygiene in our building with our ELL students, with the behavioral needs of our students, and with the growing academic needs of our students. Sometimes it can feel a little overwhelming. So one of the things that we looked at this year was changing the model, the AIS model, so that we were providing support in the classroom as well as pulling out students. Because there are still some concerns with that model because we have larger groups with a smaller period of time. We've also created an ongoing committee that's going to be looking at those issues and trying to come up with best practice and strategies and things that we can do across the school to support all of our learners. And we're hoping that that might lead to more ideas and innovations within both Tier 1 and within the AIS model.
We had our first meeting in that group and we had probably 15 people or more, 16 people or more that are interested in a strategy session to look at different models. So it's throughout the building. So we're all going to be working together. It's going to be great.
So we have, the next one is we have 3 building-wide iReady diagnostic assessment discussions with Virginia Bond from Eric and Julie Carroll, our instructional coach. So what we do at each of those meetings is we already met once and we take a look at the student scores where they start at the beginning of the year. We say, okay, where are they now? How can we help them grow? What are some strategies you could use? Are there any lessons that we may be able to pull up in iReady that might help the students in certain areas? Virginia and Julie are always there for any questions that we might have about how to help our students, both the low, middle, and high, to stretch their growth as much as humanly possible. We're going to meet again in January to discuss the data after they've taken the next assessment, and then again later in the year to see kind of how we can get them where they need to be or beyond by the end of the year. Because when you get to a certain point, there's certain students who are like kind of on a bubble, and we want to make sure that those students can get where they need to go.
Yeah, next thing I want to talk about is positive school climate and culture, things that we've been working on a lot last few years. We want to strengthen our commitment to whole person.
I'm going to interrupt for 1 second. Mary Beth, I don't know if that stool of the table,
Yeah.
like, sorry, I am so sorry. I'm like, all I can picture is the table falling on you. You're welcome.
We work as a team, we would hold the table up.
Okay, well, I figured that. Well, I wanted to see you go underneath it.
Make sure Mary Beth
Mark.
doesn't it.
Throw my legs over this side.
One of the things we've been striving for. is
Thank you.
striving to strengthen our commitment to whole person health and wellness for all the members of our building and community.
So we have faculty book studies called I Wish My Teacher Knew. We put out several books that we wanted to kind of discuss, and we did a survey of the staff and they picked this one. It's a good one. It's coupled with really working on that intentional relationship building between the students and the teachers, because some of that can lead to academic success as well. So, I mean, it's social success, but it's also, you have to know your kids, and you have to know them well. So I know that in my classroom, I've instituted, I Wish My Teacher Knew in my journal every Thursday. They write it every Thursday, and you get to know a lot of things.
Staying with the weekend, you're like, I better watch it.
Somebody lost the cat, and, you know, there's always these little things that, you know, sometimes, well, maybe they didn't perform that great on the test that week because they had this little thing going on and they didn't tell you, but they wrote it in their journal. So every, you know, Friday morning, I'm going in and looking at their journals. So I know other teachers do similar things like that too. And we're instituting, we're on the second chapter of the book because it's just the beginning, but it talks a lot about, you know, just really digging in and knowing your kids. We're working on emphasizing our commitment to PBIS. We've always done PBIS. I gave you a pink sheet and a yellow sheet. Return to tier one activity method of teaching expectations. So this is what we do at the beginning of the year, that sort of pink sheet, sort of like a matrix. We kind of go over this with all the kids. We do it in January too, when they come back from Christmas break. So they need a revamp of that every time.
They forget everything.
So they.
Not saying the break is too long, it's just.
No, but,
everything.
but it's good to, I have it on my board with, we kind of revisit it sometimes and, we really worked this year on making, our classroom expectations or, norms together. Ways to do it this Tiger way. So we talked about this at BLT, which is the yellow sheet, where we went through all of the things, for the Tiger way, like be a good teammate. What does that mean to a second grader or a third grader? And we kind of gave, little examples of each one, like say work relentlessly. So we talked about what does relentless mean? How does that look in elementary school versus high school? Try new things even if they're challenging, learn from your mistakes, put your best effort forward, practice and try to get better. All those things, so we went over all of this while we were making our norms in our classroom. This is how, if you're gonna work relentlessly, what are you gonna be doing? What's the thing? What are the ways to be in the Tiger way and do it the Tiger way? So we did a lot of that and, on the back of the yellow sheet is sort of a little thing that, of like a good note home, like I gave it to my class today. They were focused in writing class. They spoke up and shared their ideas, so when the parents get these home, it's checked off to every single thing that they've done, to kind of do it that Tiger way. And we kind of using that language too, because even Mr. Van Dyke and I, because it's very, going into PM, like, remember the Tiger way, if somebody, we're not gonna fight over the position in line and we're not gonna, and he's like, yeah, let's do it the Tiger way. And so we're
Mary
kind
Beth
of.
reminds Mr. Van Dyke too, because Van Dyke needs to be reminded.
Yeah, sometimes he needs to be reminded.
Does try to push kids out of the way in line.
So, but yeah, so we're doing all those things to sort of, really build those relationships with the kids. And we're continuing our assemblies that involve, building wide expectations. So we've been really working on that.
I also wanted to add just a little bit with PBIS and the Tiger Way. We're trying to kind of just join them together. So even our Tiger Cup coupons, we added onto the top of them. It talks about following the 3 Bs, but also following the Tiger Way, so that we can kind of join those together and let them know that following the 3 Bs is also following the Tiger Way. So we can combine PBIS.
And it's good. We really liked it because we used some of some of the things, like Jeff did a video a couple years ago. We used it with the kids, and so that way we can build that language up. So even when they get into the high school, they've heard it, they know it, they've heard it since kindergarten. So we're really trying to, make that a school-wide thing, but also it carries them up into middle school and high school, because that's what they say too. So we just wanted to, instead of saying be nice or be kind, which is nice, it's good to be nice and kind, but this is, we're expecting you to do it the Tiger way. These are all the things that mean that, that kind of thing.
Okay. Also for the PBIS assemblies, I brought this year, this is our golden trash can award. And it has the green sheets that the aides in the cafeteria give to the classes in the little bucket. Also during the assembly, we now have started giving out fantastic student badges. And on the back for every month.
Kids love lanyards.
Says ask how I was carrying. This month is carrying. So it says ask me how I was carrying, and they wear this for a week. And they look so cute walking around with the little, even Halloween costumes, they had their little lanyard on. It was so cute. And I have things for everybody too.
Okay.
Now you guys love lanyards too.
Swag.
I know.
Wow, personalized.
Yeah, thank you so much. You're welcome. And this from Z.
I don't have ask me how I was kind on the back.
They knew.
Oh. So there you go.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
All right.
Sorry, PJ, we'll get you on. You have to be careful with just Stacy, because the next day it happens.
Speaker, I said, I can't visualize the thing, and the thing is.
It's amazing what kids will do for this thing. They don't love stuff like that.
Love it.
Onto it. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so that's enough. Okay, so we also at Harmony Hill want to really increase family involvement within the school. And we're going to be providing welcoming events that feature student ambassadors. We also implemented a new bingo night that was put on by the green team this year. We had a huge turnout, probably 170 people. It was great. It was in the cafeteria. We had snacks. We had, Mr. Van Dyke emceeing the bingo night. We had great.
A big, oh yeah. Big
Oh, fitness.
Well, it was actually a Halloween bingo.
Yeah, so we were all dressed up.
Dressed up, and they made the 15 in their costumes. So it was, you killed two birds with one stone kind of thing. But there were grandparents and parents and the kids. It was multi-generational, which was nice to see because grandparents and parents love bingo. So it was actually amazing.
It really was.
And all the tables were covered in the cafeteria. So I'm sure we're gonna be doing this for many more years. And now we're already talking, maybe we'll do it towards the middle of the year or the end of the year again, because it was so successful. We also have the PBIS dance, which is always a great turnout. The kids love, well, we say dance, but they run around. Go in circles. But that's always a big hit every year. We also want to get more people involved in the ENL picnic because we have such a large community of ELL students. And it's a great place for them to interact with other people who are kind of, going through the same thing that they're going through. And seeing their teachers there is really nice because they really do latch on to their teachers. And it's kind of like, when we're translating and talking to them, it's hard for them to talk to every kid in the classroom when there's 25 kids and there's, a couple languages in the room. They can't always be on a translator to talk to those students because we still need to teach. So the ENL picnic is a great way to get them involved in the community and back into the school. We also want to, it's our goal to increase the faculty and staff participation in our building and having them involved in the decision making. So we encourage everybody, the staff, everyone in the school to utilize the BLT team, ask us questions, ask us what we're talking about, discuss things, or just mention concerns that they have. We have online and we have in-person suggestion box which is anonymous. So no one has to leave their name. And we go through all the suggestions at our BLT meetings. So we'll go read through them, we'll make suggestions, we'll talk about it first, make suggestions and reply back to every single suggestion that comes in. And if we can't, we form a focus meeting. We create a focus meeting and then we say there's going to be a focus meeting on this topic in the comments if you'd like to join us to talk more about it. So then that's when the whole building can come together and talk about it. And we just had a focus meeting on AI. So it actually has worked out nice because people, they say things and suggest things, but when it comes down to it, if you really want to talk about it, come to the focus meeting. So it's a nice way to get everybody involved. And the last thing is, oh, sorry, it is the same. I talked about it. All right. So we're done.
That's a good way to end.
This is our third focus meeting, and prior to that was on Halloween. the suggestions that the team made about Halloween made it probably the most successful parade slash dismissal, then it's because that could be a mess. There's a safety worry and a mess, but we did it the way that we talked about in the folks meeting, and it was probably Mary Beth paid this the best compliment. She said, this is probably one of the best we've ever had.
Wow.
So.
And I said it was the best I've ever seen. It was one of the best I've ever seen, and I've seen a lot of pictures. I've been here a long time.
But that was based on the decisions that we made at the focus meeting. Great.
Boots on the ground know best.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you for giving them an avenue to bring that forward. I think that's really important.
We used to have a pulse meeting. Oh, no, yeah, we used to have a pulse meeting, but the pulse meeting showed that we didn't really need a pulse meeting because we used to wait. We went pulse meeting to the focus meeting. We just go right to the focus meeting now because the pulse wasn't necessarily needed, so.
I think your building has really unique challenges based on the size of your ELL population. And I think you're doing great things to try and find ways to reach that community, to reach those kids, to support each other, and to grow all of you while you're doing that. So thank you for doing that.
The treehouse is going to be hopefully ready in a month or two. We have our speech therapist. She's an amazing artist. She's going to start painting a tree. It's in the old speech room. So it's a little room. So she's gonna.
We had we had the locker rooms redone. So the speech teacher moved into the bigger room in the locker room, and her little room is now going to be like basically a common space. So, and we're doing focus meetings on that too, of what can we make it, how can we make, how can kids utilize it, how can teachers utilize it in the way. So that's, and like Corinne's going to do a lot of painting.
Yeah, I purchased paint yesterday. She was thrilled. Our last page is we're going to be looking at future ready knowledge and skills. We want to work on decreasing chronic absenteeism again by 2% this year. Last year we had 150 students, or 35.8% were chronically absent. That's way too much. This is similar in all three buildings. We just have to educate and get them motivated. We're talking about a few things that we're going to do in our school. Oh, I guess I'm first. We do everything, but I'm going to practice. So one of the things we want to do is obviously increase daily attendance. So we've been calling home. We've been sending the positive letters. We're taking a positive spin on it. I make a lot of phone calls. I'll sit in observations, and if I notice a student that I've known was chronically absent and they really participated nicely, I'll call that parent. I'll usually call one or two parents from each observation and say, hey, you know what? Billy did a fantastic job. I think it's nice for them to hear me call them. That's not a put down phone call. It's a promising. Then if I see them at dismissal or drop off, I can talk to them about it as well. Our daily average attendance, we monitor it. We still have our cabinet meetings every Monday morning. We look at attendance on a weekly basis. We also have Tiger Cubs, and what we do is we monitor by the grade level. Whichever grade level has the highest percentage of attendance, each classroom gets a little Tiger Cub that we bought.
They're so cute. They can hold them.
They love them. They love them so much that the third grade teacher had to go home and wash them last week. She walked out with the form to wash them. They love them. They love them. Again, that we hand that out at our assembly. So we do the gold trash can, and then we do the Tiger Cup reports as well. Again,
And parents are invited to all those.
Yep.
So it's very, they
Parents
really
love
like
that.
it. Yeah.
And also families that approach 10% absenteeism, our cabinet, we call them, and I call them, and we sit down with the parents and say, okay, how can we help you? So we're doing a lot. We're trying to make it a little bit more, again, kind of personalized to help them out.
And communicating the importance of timely drop off and pickup to families. I know I've received multiple parent square messages about that. They're also working, not that my kids are ever late.
I was gonna say, it's so far.
I mean, sometimes they're not picked up on time.
So cute,
Why do you think why do you think we put her on BLT? Oh, increase.
Yeah. And one thing that we're working on is student-led videos, that the students will do some sort of skit showing what they're doing in school to kind of portray, like, look at, we're having so much fun in school, look what you're missing when you're late. Specifically, I think we talked about like when they're having breakfast to show that the breakfast time is actually kind of used to start the day, and some people are starting lessons like right during that time. So the importance of coming and getting right to work so that they don't miss any important instruction.
Because our like AIS time and our speech times, they're really tight. The ENL times, the IEP times, they start right away at 8:50. As soon as we can start them, we have to start them because we have so much. So if they come in at 9 o'clock, they're missing a whole chunk of their services. So.
A lot of families have misconceptions on the fact that, okay, they think, oh, you're gonna eat breakfast, so we don't have to get them there till,
Yeah.
sorry, 8:45. These guys are rocking and rolling.
We're reading books and eating.
Yeah, yeah.
And writing out things and eating and, so yeah, morning work.
Yeah.
And then college day, career week, last year during March, it was, career week, right? Yeah. And we had March Madness. I had the brackets of all the different careers, and third, fourth, and fifth grade voted on what career they wanted. I would tally it up and I would move all the careers. I forgot the winning one.
Elementary principal.
Yeah, because that's what they all want to be.
It's amazing how many kids stopped at that board to look at it. They loved it.
But it introduces them to a lot of careers and talking about things they never thought they could do.
And then we had visitors last year. Amy McGuire's brother is a Lego builder, so he came and
A lot of guest speakers, they were,
the tree guy come, with a big old tree where they cut down.
had a ranger come and it was a woman.
Yeah, we had a hockey player, former hockey player.
Garage owner was also a woman. She brought a bunch of different parts of the car, right?
It was a automotive tech.
And even at the younger levels, we had people come and present to the students, and then they got to create a poster of something they might want to be when they grow up, which we know will change 80,000 times before they graduate. But they got to have their posters up for the second year in our library. And so they all got to go see what the other students wanted to be, to see their own poster up, and they were so proud of their work.
That's it.
Well, I jumped the gun on my comments because when.
Well, I know. Mr. Perry's never done.
We keep going. We keep going.
I just appreciate you guys, thinking and being thoughtful about your internal structures and how you're trying to support them, giving opportunities not only to kids, but to staff and to parents too, to kind of build capacity in different areas, emotional, academic, their teaching skills, parents' skills to communicate with faculty. So that's kind of my big takeaway with this is you guys just like really thinking about a holistic approach and making sure that everybody in your building is kind of in the same place to have the same opportunities to be able to provide good instruction, and parents given the same opportunities to participate and to be able to come in. So I just appreciate that consistency and alignment. And I think that, with the bingo, for example, parents appreciate that too. The more that you can get kids to school and want to be there and, thoughtful about trying to encourage some of those things. But again, we can't forget about, our parents at home struggling and our teachers in the building struggling too.
Yeah.
So it just seemingly very thoughtful, cohesive, collaborative support structure. So I like that.
We're really working together to try to realize, okay, we're in this together.
Mhm.
Like you said, we're all in all different areas, all different spots in our lives, and we gotta be there for the kids.
Yep.
So, and the next bingo.
We gotta be there for each other too.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
It's a big thing. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a big part. We really tried. And that's
Yeah.
the focus meetings and
Yeah.
things like that. Try to have everybody included, you know?
The next bingo night, we're gonna have bingo / curriculum meeting too, so. I'll let John 170, let me talk to you about some curriculum.
We know how that goes.
Yeah, right?
Thank you
Thank you.
very much. No, Abram Lansing.
Things that everyone's getting married, that's secret that. So like, I'm so happy that wasn't. Thank God that wasn't.
I know.
And now Principal Byrd and the Abram Lansing team.
Two things before we get started. One, we have two really cool things going on at Lansing tonight. Rachel Marshall's covering for me. I appreciate that. But as I was getting ready, I got a phone call from my Rachel who said, I'm at the high school. I said, yeah. She said, there are so many of them.
Ooh.
Today was the first rehearsal for Finding Nemo. Only 2/3 of the cast was there today for the rehearsal, but they were all little squirrels, so I went over to help. We are not ready to present to you tonight, but we hope that you'll certainly come and join us in 2 weeks. Pretty exciting.
We did send out an email for chaperones, so if anybody
Yeah.
is willing to help the rest of the week.
Listen, I have done that job myself, chaperone the play, the elementary play.
It's
You should do it. I would advise everyone to do it.
very exciting. What we saw, while I was there, we were rehearsing the opening act. It's very exciting. And then we want to thank you in advance for hiring Carol. She's on the board tonight to be our senior typist. We're very excited to have somebody in that position. So thank you for that. We have a fairly new BLT, so 3/5 of them are scared to death tonight. But just be kind to them. Our senior folks, our seasoned folks, our CPO.
Terrible.
Not a great start.
I know.
That's why I'm not going to talk later. See that? And Bridget, glad to have you here. And then our new folks are Ella McGeorge, 4th grade teacher. Glad to have Ellen with us. Jordan Bluso, the other end of the table. Holly Sesney's been in our building for a while. Is this your first time on the team? You were on once before, right, on the team. And then under the table, we have Winnie, our medical support. Is that what you call medical support? So this is the team. As you know, because we've spent many hours together, we have to write a plan for the state. Rather than write a second plan, we've combined what was in the state plan that I talked to you about this summer into our building plan for you. And now we're working with, I'm letting the practitioners talk. So the show is yours.
Okay, so we've given high expectations for all. Our goal this year is to get at least 75% of the students in grade K-5 to meet 1 year's worth of growth in reading. Currently, we're at 63, and 70% to meet it in math, and currently we're at 59%. One thing that we're going to continue to do this year is use the Common Boards, which have been helpful to both students, teachers, admin, Julie, Carol coming into our building. Anybody who walks in the classroom is able to tell what they're working on, what learning standard, how they're going to show that they know what they're learning. So the students are taking responsibility for their learning as well, knowing what they need to show the teacher. And the teachers are often referencing it to get back on track or back to what they're learning. So that increases their engagement. On those boards, we have the classroom schedules, the standard that I said, lesson targets, focus for second step for that month, and the PBI expectations. We also included this year the win So instead of just having the ELA and the math learning standards, we also have it now for the win time, the reading time, what they need. So those are focused and the students know that when they go there, that's the reading target in that amount of time. A lot of us went with Julie, we have Julie in our building for 2 days a week. And she is there to support anybody with anything. And a lot of us met with her over summer to increase our win. That might be coming out in your slides too, but to increase our success with the program, with music, well, it's not a program, but with that structure. She supports us in PLC. She's talking about doing morning meetings that people who drop in. If she walks in your classroom, sees on your common board what you're working on, she just gets right to work with the kids. She offers suggestions, always in a welcoming way. So that's what's into our win.
To piggyback off what Holly said, our win groups are flexible reading groups. They're data-driven instruction using evidence-based interventions. This is our 3rd year of doing win groups, and as part of our plan, we decided we basically wanted to kind of tighten them up and make sure that we're all on the same page. So we worked in grade level teams. We were given very comprehensive iReady data packets, and then we kind of like, what we're going to do with all of this information. So like Holly said, many of us over the summer met with Julie Carroll, and we just went through and picked out the important things that we wanted to work on, came up with a weekly structure, like we made up slides on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, using word work, using bookwork, when we're using all of the district court resources like foundations, geodes, interreading, e-readers, Scholastic News, and the reading teachers are mirroring a lot of what's going on in the classroom instruction.
So we believe in a positive school climate culture, and we know that for a lot of our kids, they get up every day. They're excited to come to school. They love being there. They love being part of our family. But we know that there's just as many kids and families that, for a variety of reasons, really struggle to just get there. So that is definitely been one of our focus at Lansing to really, really enhance the climate that we have. One of the things that our team has really focused on are our new students when they come in. For example, we've just suddenly, within the past week or two, had a big influx of kids that are coming in from other districts. So we really like to target our new students when they come in. We have a scavenger hunt. They get to go around with their team, assisting with some of their kids from the class, and just to help them get familiar with the building. There's prizes. They get to go out and meet the mastodon, our sculpture outside. So it's really just to kind of, give them those first 10, 15, 20 minutes to just breathe. And so that's something that's really important. They get a prize. And that's when it's really fun to walk around with the team and with the kids, because really the adults don't have to say much. It's really those kids that are like, oh, you need to go here. And, they're so quick to tell them all the little nuances and things like that. We have a tortoise, not a turtle. Thank you. I always call it a turtle. I apologize. But that's also been like, funny or not, but it's really been very, very welcoming, and the kids all gravitate to it. So she was moved from the library. Miss Carol built the habitat, and she's hanging out right outside the office. So that's really something where a lot of the kids are like, oh, Mom, Dad, come here, you have to see this. So it's something that I would say simple. It's really not having tortoise, but it's definitely something that's really built that engagement, and the kids really look forward to checking in on her. And we have like now people that want to be the turtle experts and stuff like that. So yeah. Okay, so the tortoise experts. So that's definitely something that's been huge for us. Our trauma-informed team, it's pretty much all hands on deck. From the classroom teachers, Mr. Bird is always one of the first people that gets called for all that fun. Kyla Manny is our teacher assistant. That is one of our main people in our behavior support area. Ms. McKenzie is our full-time aide that just joined us this year. Michelle Donnelly, our social worker, Natalie Partika, our school psychologist, and like I said, all the teachers are a part of this. Last year, this was something that was new to Lansing, and we really felt like our behaviors had gotten to a point where they were so big and they were truly affecting our ability to do a great job in the classroom. And we really needed that space. And this was truly a blessing for our building. And it has been an absolute game changer.
Last year, the priority was having that tier one intervention in the classroom, where all of us had calming corners or some sort of space. You know, our goal is always to keep students in the classroom, but sometimes it's just much bigger than that, and they really can't stay. So when we would call for the behavior support team, they come in, we give them a quick little, blurb of what's going on. Sometimes they can walk in and just know what's going on. But the opportunity to be able to swap out with somebody, because sometimes it's like, I need somebody to take over my task so I can directly handle that student. Sometimes we all have to put up our hands and say, you know what, no, I need to move away from this child, you need to move away, like, we'll come back together. So the idea that there's somebody that can take over your classroom so you can work with the student, like, it's very relaxing, like, you have that peace of mind knowing that you can address it right then and there. It doesn't have to wait. And then also, if it's bigger than quiet space in the classroom, that you can take them and you can give them what they need in that moment. So also the breaks, and that was something that, again, certain kids, they need more than just a 5-minute quick little break. This summer, the team put a huge amount of forethought into what that space needs to look like. Kyla and Michelle have been absolutely amazing at redesigning that space. We call it the suite. First of all, we have 2 different spaces. We have Michelle's office. If you ever go in, it's like a really cool, like, little vibe, like coffee shop vibe. It's got all the tables. It's like, just really a very inviting space. A lot of times that's where our parent meetings are focused, or if we have outside providers coming in, CPS is coming, or we just need that space. So it's a really nice adult space with kids spaces kind of like meshed in there. Mrs. Manning's space is really that behavior support suite, I like to call it, because it has 4 main components. I think one of the best parts about this is because you have multiple kids going into those spaces, and maybe they just need that one little space at that time. Maybe, like, for example, I had a child recently that really needed to go through each one of those spaces before they could come back to the classroom. And the first one that they have is the calming corner. And again, that's that area where they can be by themselves. They can be assisted by one of the adults. There's all different things in that space. We need blankets, fidgets, blankets. Sometimes we have kids that, like, they're exhausted. There's a lot of stuff that goes on in their houses that maybe we can't relate to. So when you have a kid that's crashing in the classroom, they need that private space. Maybe they just need to go and have that time away. We have an activity corner. This is my favorite. It's got the trampoline. It's got the yoga ball. So sometimes, you'll find yourself rolling there with the kids. Play Doh, anything, teaching kids how to use those sensory tools. And, it's not a toy, it's a fidget. It's something that's going to help regulate your body. We have, and I think this was probably one of the best things, is that quiet corner for work. Because we do have kids that, for whatever reason, can't be in the classroom, but they still have to work. And that's something that's been a very big message. Instead of having the avoidance and saying, you know what, you're not doing this. It's like, okay, yeah, you need that time, but okay, now you're also going to be accountable for your work. So they are not falling behind. And then the reflection space, and that's a table where I like to utilize it when, before a student comes back, like, maybe we'll swap out, and I'll be able to go down and kind of talk them through and just talk about, maybe what was that trigger? What happened? Did I say something to you that, like that bothered you, that said something? So it's really that time where you can kind of walk through after they have regulated. So that's been really important. One of the things that our team does also is a really good job at not just dropping the kids off and throwing them back in. It's really kind of spending time back in the classroom, sitting with them, assisting with, bringing the kids back, helping the teacher, like, if there was an issue, before that, just kind of getting them back in and making sure everybody's on board, and before they're like, okay, fine. So that has definitely been one of our biggest blessings that has come to Lansing. They are very busy people. So one of the things also that they support, like, helping with our, like, FBAs, they're looking at different strategies, very proactive approach. I mean, there are times, let's be honest, we are reactive, and I think sometimes that's just the nature of the beast. But I think we've had more parent meetings to really sit down and kind of talk and work as a cohesive unit, and just having those natural conversations that need to be had to really try and gain parent trust and get them on board. And I think that's something that's also shifted, where before, like, a lot of things a parent will only hear as like a negative, or like, oh, we need you, like there's something going on. Now, like, with the relationships that are happening,
it's much, much easier to be able to call and give them a follow-up and say, oh my goodness, this has been a rough couple of days, but oh, now we're seeing all of these good things. So I think it's really nice to be able to have that conversation, that dialogue that's ongoing. They're really great at, helping to monitor what's working, what's not working. And being a part of our ISC teams and really offering those suggestions. If it's not working, okay, let's on to the next. Let's figure that out. So I definitely think that has been one of our best received. What's what I like. So thank you for allowing us to happen.
I think I piggyback off Sue a little bit, actually. So to talk more about being intentional in making sure our students feel welcome every day, we have a library lunch program for some of our students who are at varying levels of having difficulties in our lunchroom. They are offered a quiet place in the library with 2 adults that oversee that space. They're able to invite a friend up with them. And during that time, they're eating their lunch, but they're also going through social skills with the adults in that room. They're playing games with adults. They're creating relationships with other peers, not just in their grade, but in other grades as other classes come in. So that's been a really great option for some of our students who need that time away, who can't quite handle the commotion of the cafeteria. So we appreciate that we have that room for them. And then making sure that we're including our families in everything we do. We continue inviting our students and important adults to our PBIS ceremonies each month. They get to come in, they'll come in with balloons and flowers for their kids that earn Kid of Character, and the kids all love seeing their adults there and they're waving and smiling. We also invite these adults to our grade level breakfasts that happen on Thursdays. So they get to come in, they get to have a hot breakfast with their student, they get to meet kind of the other students in that grade. So that's also a great opportunity for us to involve families. And then finally, working with our PTO to make sure that teachers are also involved in these opportunities that are happening outside the school. We just hosted our Halloween movie night where teachers could go and volunteer to help out and to watch a movie with their students as well as their families.
So the last commitment we have was to decrease the chronically absent percentage by 2% this year. So continuing with the parent square communications positive from teachers as well as administration, encouraging consistent attendance, encouraging them to come to school every day. And when they're not around, finding out why they aren't and figuring out ways of getting them to come back and offering support to those families of those kids that are really struggling to come to school. Another thing we did to kind of know who we need to look at is last year's students that were chronically absent. We kind of put them all on a table just to keep an eye on them. And then this year, if it came up that they started to become absent over and over again, we'd be able to target them more quickly, knowing that maybe this might be a pattern that they might be forming. So to kind of stop that before it happens again another year. We're continuing to work with Rachel Marshall to develop and implement the district attendance plan. And at the PBIS assemblies that Jordan was talking about, we recognize the classes that have the best attendance for each month, as well as the most improved attendance in month to month. We have a relationship with the Pizza Stop down in the city. They offer a pizza, they donate a pizza to the class that has the best attendance every month. And just last week at our assembly, Mayor Keeler came in and he offered us the same challenge of whoever can have the best attendance for the whole year, have a pizza party with him. So they're really excited about that too. Some other ways we're encouraging them to come to school. There's some of the things that we offer for them. We have a power lunch with Russell Sage students. So there's a bunch of kids that come every week, and there's a literacy component to it. So there's students that were picked to be part of the power lunch. They do have that reading component with them, but it's also forming a mentorship and forming a positive relationship with someone else, encouraging them to come to school, and they really look forward to it every week. So it's getting them to come back each day. We have Proctor's Theater. We have another opportunity to go this year, full school trip, exposing the students to Broadway experience, which is something that some of them may never get. So it's pretty exciting. We have an ongoing relationship with Alan Snopley Dance Company, who come in and primarily work with third grade and incorporate social studies curriculum into dance movement. So the countries that we're studying throughout the year, the dancers come in and teach us about the culture and the geography of those countries and get the kids to move. It's a modern dance that gets to move around and make different things, looking, from that country.
We are also learning the choreography.
We rock now.
Yeah.
When is that going to be proposed?
Might have to come with it. Yeah.
So they're also piggybacking on that in the next couple of weeks to target other grade levels as well, just not the third grade. And then in the springtime, the college and career awareness, we have parents and siblings that come in to kind of share their experiences and their expectations for their careers that they hold and teach the kids about what is out there for them. Junior Jenny is really supporting us with that this year too, as well. Junior achievement in the day, the same idea, they get to share those experiences and kind of encourage the students just to let them know what kind of careers are out there. Move on.
That's it.
I think so.
Sure.
I want to cut you off.
I'm talking to.
Yeah.
Anybody got something to say? No, that's it.
Or I just really appreciate like the nurturing, aspect that you guys are really putting forward for every part of your school day. It feels like trying to support not only just what the expectations are, but meeting people where they are. Ideas for your boards, for example, having parents in for meetings to try not just say, this is your problem, this is our problem. I just feel like that's your word of the day. It's just nurture. I think that, a lot of this is not really like a shocking surprise, right? Like we're involved in, some of the pieces and parts of what your plan looks like and what's developed, but the different changes that you make to support those consistent things that happen to be in need I think it's great. I think you guys are doing good.
So I just want to step back for a minute. I know the state has given you a label. And I don't think that you've ever heard from this table that we don't believe that it's reflective of the work that you do, because you all do amazing work and you work really hard. And you've taken the resources that were given because of the label and turned them into something deeply positive. And you've taken a deep dive and you continue to refine those resources. And we could do something to take that off, we would, but it is, no one at this table believes that it's because of anything that you should be doing or aren't doing. We know that you work so hard and you take it personally, and we just want you to know that we believe in the work that you're doing and we appreciate it.
Thank you for saying that. Make sure that's.
I happened to be in your building when the designation came out last year and I could feel it with you. We appreciate the work that you've done to turn it around. So thank you for that.
Thank you for showing up every day.
Thank you so much. Thank you to all the leadership teams and your plans. Thank you for all you do. And at this point in time, I am going to turn this over to Stacy Mackey.
And did you bring swag too?
I don't have any swag, I'm sorry.
She's got a very big.
And we understand.
Her swag would be money.
Understand if you have to go, and it is okay if you have to leave. I almost didn't say that.
Thank you, guys.
Except for you.
Have a great year.
I gotta home now. I thought she was just moving to sit up front.
I know, right?
Out of here.
So tonight, before the board meeting, we had our annual audit committee meeting. So on the agenda, we met with Heather Lewis who's our external audit firm. So Heather did go over the draft financial statements with the committee. The financials will be on our very next agenda, which is in December, I think December 11th. For the board to take action, I'll give you a quick highlight. Our net position is negative. It's always negative. It's very typical in school districts. That is because our OPEB, our post-retirement benefits are not funded. And so it's a negative position because it's a $106 million liability that is unfunded. Again, typical, not an issue. We underperformed in expenses about 10% versus the budget, and we were pretty on target as far as revenues, so within 1%. So we did add to fund balance. So we do have a finding because we have excess fund balance. We did fund 3 reserves this year. So we funded the tax tertiary reserve for, we have 3 known cases, so that is fully funded. We did add to our TRS reserve as well as our capital reserve. So the capital reserve is fully funded at this point, and on the next vote in May, we will have a referendum on how to expend the $2 million that we added in the 23-24 school year. So we did have 4 findings. They are repeats of the prior year. So 2 are related to fund balance. So we have the cafeteria excess fund balance. We did plan to purchase tables at both the middle school and Abram Lansing. We were waiting for the design through the capital project. We weren't happy with any of the designs that were presented. So we have to go back to the drawing board. And actually, I got a message from Mr. Bird, I think it was today, maybe yesterday, the days all blend together, asking me to take a look at round options. And so we'll bring in some vendors, we'll have them do some drawings and see what we have to work with. So the expectation is that we get that done by the end of the school year. Excess fund balance for general fund. We do have a plan. I'll talk about the reserve plan. That's where we'll take action there. We did have a finding for journal entries. So as you're aware, we had some significant turnover in the business office. So unfortunately, we did have some duplicate activity. So that's related to that finding. And then untimely stacking for our special program. So we did have a team member trained, and they have processed 2 years, a year and working on the second year. So that'll be remedied next.
We stack internally or we do that?
Yeah, we do stack internally. We brought BOCES in to train in October. Yep. So again, these were the draft financials. We will have the finals and we will take action the next time we meet in December.
Guys, I'm telling you, super interesting. Very fun. But I mean, the good thing is, thank you to you and your team. You know, school activities got a nice shout out.
Yeah, you did.
That's always a hard thing. But I think, you know, it's hard for us. One of the things that I just wanted to mention is, you know, that we talked about potential changes in the future and positions that we're in right now, which would be supported by, you know, conversations that are happening. An example, like you talked about the school lunch fund, you're only allowed 3 months. Changes are going to, you know, allow us 6 months. So, you know, the way that the variables work and the conditions in which school districts are put upon to maintain balances that are unlivably low for any kind of unexpected expense. It's hard, I think, for any district to be at that 4%. I'm not mad about it, you know, it's something it's going to be there. We want to be, you know, our legislature or our representatives, you know, to advocate to increase that, just because I just don't think it's reasonable. But thank you again to you and your team. I know that's been a difficult year with a lot of transitions. So.
And to only have those repeat offenses is commendable to your staff and you.
Thank you. We'll move on to the reserve and fund balance report. So this is a draft, and this is meant to have some give and take as far as where we're headed and what the plan is, and we work this into the budget planning process too. So I highlighted everything that I changed in yellow so that it would be pretty easy to follow. We have the workers' comp reserve. We've had that since 2017. I consider this fully funded. Technically, our goal is 233,000 and we're at 179, but I don't really consider that material. So we're not saying that we're going to take any action on this reserve. Same for unemployment. No action is recommended for that reserve. Capital reserve is the one I would like to focus on, and I would like it to be our top priority. So we did take action in 23-24 to fund $2 million. That's the limit of the reserve that we established back in 2018. And in the upcoming vote, we'll have to have a referendum on how to expend those monies. And so through the capital project, we have an active list of things that have come up that we would like to address. And then we also have the list of things that came out of the project. So we're going to need to work through that and prioritize those items and come up with a budget. Identifying obviously items that are health and safety, and also identifying things that are needed and are a priority for the community. So that'll be some significant work that's going to need to happen between now and May.
If I can just mention, so we're having those conversations now. We will then have a facilities committee meeting, bring it to the facilities committee, and then bring it to the full board.
So looking to the future, I would also like to consider establishing a new capital reserve. So that reserve has been exhausted. We have lots and lots of needs. So if we could get some of the work done without having to borrow, that would be ideal. I need to speak to council to see if we can have referendums at the same time. I'm not sure about that, so I just need to clarify. For timing, if we can't, then we would push that out to the following year. And construction would be material substantially complete, and so that's probably actually ideal timing because we wouldn't have any surprises at that point. We do not have a liability or an insurance reserve. So I'm not recommending action there. Our tax reserve, we did fund that. We have 3 known cases. They're fully funded. Hopefully they're resolved in the next year. That would be nice.
Is that?
Are they new? Are they new?
2 are new. 1 is not.
1 is, okay, thank you.
The debt service fund. So I added the note. This reserve has to be financed through unexpended bond proceeds. So that was something that came to light while we were going through the audit, because initially we had planned to fund that for what we had banded in the first issuance, and we were advised that that is not possible. So that'll have to be through a capital fund transfer if we don't expend all of the monies through the bonds once we permanently bond. So we had 2 band issuances, and then the next should be hopefully a permanent bond. And that should be 24, 25. So this has been moved to the bottom of the list as far as a priority. Retirement contribution reserve. So we have 2. We have the ERS and we have TRS. ERS is fully funded. TRS has limitations on what we're permitted to fund, both on an annual basis and a cap, an overall cap. So we've been funding this a number of years, and we're approaching the point where maybe we'll be able to fully fund this reserve, which would be great. So it's a 2% cap for each year, and then it's a 10% cap overall. And it's based off of your prior year, your payroll from prior year. So right now, our cap would be 1.75 million, and we have 1.3. So we're moving in the right direction there. So this will continue to be a priority to fully fund this reserve. The next talking point is our EBLAR reserve, and we did talk about this at the audit committee. So this particular reserve is grossly underfunded. The problem is they're going to be changing the GASB standards, and I don't want to be in a position where we overfund the reserve. So we're holding off, but this is right under the capital. This is our next priority to fund this. And the reason why is we have a lot of our staff that are approaching retirement eligible age, and our retirement incentives are based off of sick time. And so we can use this reserve monies to fund those retirement incentives, and that's what we want to do. Also in the CSEA contract, they are, if they separate, whether it's for, if they separate on their own or if it's through retirement, they're paid out for their sick time as well. So all of our incentives are based off of sick time, and we can use the reserves to fund those. Okay, so that's our next priority. The next page is just a summary of all the reserves and what the purpose of each reserve is and the balance as of 6/30/24. And this cross-fits to the financial statements. In the financial statements, they also have extracurricular, and they have the scholarship, so you just would reduce that. So next, fund balance. So fund balance, again, we underperformed as far as expenses, about 10%. So we did add to fund balance. So overall, it's 9.3, and it's 17.5%. I will bring attention to the COVID stimulus monies. So this was the last year that we have those stimulus monies. ARP had to be expended by September 30th of 2024. So those funds are all exhausted at this point. And so last we talked about our long-term strategy. Priority is to stabilize the tax levy. That's a priority, while making sure that we're in a strong financial position, especially since we'll be looking to bond for our capital project, and looking to replenish our reserves so that we're in a strong cash position overall. The priorities, again, top priority number one is going to be the capital reserve. Next is our EBLAR reserve, followed by a tax certiorari, and then TRS. So, any questions or comments, or anything you'd like me to?
Questions. I just want to give you a shout out, Stacy. I mean, this is in such a better place. You were 4 years ago when I joined this board, so.
We were asking you when we were going to run out of money.
I know.
And it was, the answer was 2 years every time. Yeah. I think the hard thing is to think, some of these savings are also due to the fact that, we aren't able, we're not in, an economy that can allow for us to maintain some of our supports, because we can't hire people. We don't have, we're posting job after job after job. And, I know that these guys work so hard to put together a sensible budget. We're talking about putting excess funds, and where do we put the excess funds? But I think it's important to say, believe us, while we appreciate the conversation about excess funds, we do wish we could fill all the positions that need to be filled.
Absolutely.
To give the supports that we plan and that we budget for. It's not our goal to to put money into reserves, or to budget to put money into reserves. It's important to know that we have very specific ideas and thoughts about where money should be spent, but sometimes we're just in a position where we aren't able to do it from, things that we can't control, such as, hiring decisions and, any of the regulatory compliance that comes through the state. We make our best guess. And usually Stacy is very conservative about those, which again, we all appreciate. But I just wanted to say some words out loud, I guess.
Sorry.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks.
All right, to follow up.
So I managed to turn that off, so I'll just talk to you. So as you heard tonight, the elementary musical, we're really looking forward to that November 15th through 17th. November 19th, our Wellness Committee meeting. November 23rd, Special Olympics Polar Plunge. Hope to see all of you there this year. And then already Thanksgiving recess, and before our next board meeting, elementary report card conferences, and then December 9th, our technology committee meeting. So a lot in between now and then.
Thank you.
Christmas.
Thank you.
All right. No more questions, comments, concerns on the presentations, superintendent reports, business office reporting. Okay, we'll move on. Is there any board discussion on agenda items tonight?
Does the calendar count as agenda items?
Say it again.
Does the calendar count as an agenda item?
Sure, it's part of the report.
Great. Just want to give Mr. Perry and his team out in Harmony Hill a shout out for signing us up for the Lake George Board Fund. The Cohoes City School District team really comes out full force for that, and we absolutely appreciate it. And just to let everyone know, that's still in the room, that the money raised there, although it's, special its umbrella, it's supports unified programming from the elementary school all the way up to the high school level. And we're working on some transitioning program for our students as they leave high school and how they can, continue to be involved in the community as well. So thank you to everyone who's involved.
Thank you for being a liaison, a great liaison.
And everyone's welcome to join us, of course.
Thank you.
It's really not that cold.
No. We need discussion of agenda items to include the polar plunge in the calendar. Okay. Old business, we have none. With that, can I please have a motion that the Board of Education adopts the following resolutions of the November 6th, 2024 agenda, items 6A through E, 7A through J, and 9A?
I'll make a motion.
Second, thank you.
Mrs. Giller.
Yes.
Mr. Jackson.
Yes.
Snyder.
Yes.
Paradis.
Yes.
Mr. DeRose.
Yes.
Mrs. Carey.
Yes. Thank you, Mrs. Strumsing. Any comments tonight from board members on anything that's not on the agenda?
Yes. So I just wanted to have a conversation really quick about, we had a couple of little snafus with election day. Just as far as securing the buildings and expectations as to where people were supposed to be. This is not a conversation to talk about trying to discourage, our buildings from being polling places. But I do feel like we need to get out in front, especially now that, we have an appointed facilities, director. But more so having a conversation with our BOE safety, expert, our facilities, and also, the Board of Elections to potentially look at sites within the buildings. We did receive some, conditions and regulations as far as the expectation of use of the building, which certainly nobody's disagreeing that they're able to use our building. It's just how far do folks have to walk inside of a building to get to their polling place? And how much are we contributing to the safety and security of making sure that folks are going straight from the door that they enter to the polling location and back to the door, and it's not to discourage having an open door policy for anyone. It's to make sure, when our parents come in, we know who our parents are. When we have an open door and don't have anyone manning that door, I think that we just need to better plan and think about what is our responsibility and what is the responsibility of the Board of Elections as far as like, they have people come in, do they all have a job? Is somebody meant to stand at the door? Somebody meant to give them directions? Do they know where they're going? We don't live in a world anymore where we can just have people roaming around the buildings. We just don't. We don't allow it during the school day. We don't allow it even after the school day. The doors are locked. So I just think it's a good time for us to maybe work together, make sure expectations are set. We know whose job it is to do what, and that's going to be the best and, most convenient place. If that means we have to hire 3 security guards for one building, I don't know what that means, but, I just think that there needs to be a conversation. The next time that we will have polling is like the last week of school, and we're going to have kiddos in the building. We need to make sure that it is a close location to the front entrance or back entrance or whatever entrance we're using, whatever entrance we're using. But yeah, I just feel like there needs to be some structure for everybody to come to an agreement as to the best place so that it is convenient for our community members, and we all feel like it's following the expectations that we set forth and we follow every single day.
So
I just feel like it shouldn't be a different day,
A great time to debrief after an event and just take, everyone's takeaways and just everyone sit at the table. And if we have to change a door, we have to change a door. And if we have to just shift staffing, I think it's a good conversation to be had.
Yeah.
So, and it's timely.
Yeah. I just want to assure everyone that when it is the days when the students are present, there are safety officers in all of the buildings, just like when it's our board budget vote. On the election day, in the past, our safety officers haven't worked. It's time to revisit that as well. And we can have some discussions with the assistance of the new facilities director on the locations and try to come to a consensus.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Other questions, comments, concerns, not agenda items from the board? From the community? Okay. Nothing else. Dates for future meetings, December 11th, here in the library at 6 p.m., January 8th, 2025. Wow. 6 p.m. here in the library. There is no need to enter into executive session this evening, so may I have a motion to adjourn at 7:39 p.m.
I'll make that.
Thank you, Annette.
I'll second.
Mrs. Giller.
Yes.
Mr. Jackson.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes.
Paredes.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
And Mrs. Carey.
Yes, Mrs. Giller kindly reminded me, because I'm very calendar challenged, that I should wish you all happy Thanksgiving from the board, because we won't see you.
Oh, happy Thanksgiving.
Oh, that's
Your break.
right.
Thank you, everyone, for coming.